What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Next Level Teaching. I'm your host, Jeremy Anderson, here with my super dope co-host, Miss Tori Rodriguez, a.k.a. T-Rod. What's up? How you feeling?
You know, I'm good.
Fun,
I'm good.
goofy, happy? Yeah.
I'm happy. I have one of
love
my
it.
really good friends here with me, actually. So
Hey.
I'm super
Hey.
excited for this conversation today.
Yes.
We have Shelby Pope with us.
What's
and
up, guys?
She's amazing. We've already had a little bit of conversation
Yep.
off
Oh,
mic,
yeah.
and I'm super excited for everyone to hear Shelby's story
Yeah.
and just to have a great conversation
Yeah.
because she is outside of your typical like public school. And I think that it's so important for us as teachers to have that conversation
Absolutely.
and hear what other people are experiencing outside of that. And then also for our private school, charter school, whatever you teach in, for you to know that like we want to hear what you have to say as well and what you're experiencing in your schools.
Yep.
So
It's gonna be good.
Yeah, I'm excited. But first, why don't you tell our folks who we are here?
Yes. Look, so we're regular people who are passionate about education. We're passionate about teaching. We're passionate about helping this next generation go to that next level. So on this podcast, you're going to laugh, you're going to learn, and then we want you to walk away and live your best life.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about, what we're going to share today. We're excited about the questions we have for you. And we're excited about the reviews that you're going to give us.
Yeah.
Please, help us spread the message. We want to rise as high as we can on Google Play and Spotify and definitely Apple. So leave us a review. Let us know what we're doing. Just take 2 seconds, 2 minutes maybe, and just tell us what you think about the podcast. Give us some affirmation. Give us something funky. You see what we have set up here if you're watching it on YouTube. We really want to create something special for you. So give us a nice little rating, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stars maybe.
For sure.
Show us some love and leave us a quick rating. Leave us a quick review, and that'd be great. And then connect with us on Instagram also.
Yeah.
One Next Level Teaching.
Yeah, and let your friends know about us. Like, if you are truly loving and feel like that this podcast is feeding into you and you're learning good things, or at least it's a good laugh every now and then, or you feel like you can at least lament with us sometimes in some of our struggles, and you feel like you have some friends that might enjoy this as well, definitely make sure that you share that with your teacher friends, because we know that we can't do this.
Caring.
Yeah, we can't do this apart. We know that as a community, we don't, we always say never reinvent the wheel, right? If there's nothing wrong, don't fix it. And that's kind of how we feel about this. We want to be a place where you're sharing with each other and helping each other, because this is not a time where we can do this on our own.
Right. And that's why we decided to create the podcast.
Yeah.
We wanted to be able to meet educators where they were. We saw March, April last year was really weird. We said, hey, we want to have something that can help affirm and support and build you all up, give you a reason to laugh, but also give you something where you're like, you know what? I learned something new. Let me try this, to hear from extraordinary educators like we have today. And so, I'm excited.
Yeah. And the last thing I want to say is I hope that we're also checking your heart in certain things. There was something that was posted, and I want to talk about it just real quick, and then we'll really hop in, but Shelby, feel free to hop in with this as well. Yeah. But there was something that checked my heart the other day on social media, and it said, I wonder how many of the educators that are out there that were outraged by Jacob Blake, the fact that he was shot for simply walking away from authority, have also called the home of, written a referral, or pushed for punishment of a black or brown kid who had the nerve to walk away from them while they were speaking. Wow. And that was a heart check for me, and I sent that to a couple of my friends, my mom, because there are definitely times where I need that heart check as well. Yeah. So I hope that another thing that we're doing here is we're also giving you the ability to learn in a way that's making you change the way that you're teaching right now. So
I used to always see, whenever I would go to a church or something, I would always hear these messages, and I would always feel inspired. But I started reading books and seeking for messages that would inspire me, but also convict me. And so I'm huge on character. So I'm like, I don't need just a word that's going to encourage me. Let me get the encouragement, but also let me get the conviction.
Yeah.
Because conviction brings about change.
Yes.
And we bring about change, that means we're growing. And that means we can have a bigger influence and a bigger impact in the world. And so we also want this podcast to be something that encourages you, but maybe you also feel some conviction. And I'm sure that's been happening.
And it's not always comfortable. Let's be honest.
No.
I've been growing so much in this season. I think we've talked about
when
this.
You start snapping, I know it's real.
And like this has been such an uncomfortable season for me. We've talked a lot about, as a nation, about having these uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah.
Like I love Emmanuel Acho, where how he talks about the uncomfortable conversations with a black man. And growth comes from uncomfortable conversations. So if there are ever times where you feel a little uncomfortable with some of the conversations that we're having, hold on.
Lean in.
Yes, don't automatically turn us off. I want you to stick with it and really listen and see where we're going with that, and sit in it for a little bit and feel that uncomfortable for a little bit, and then check your heart in it and say, okay, how do I truly feel about this? Check truth with it, of course.
Yeah.
And then why do I feel that way?
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So that we can grow.
Yes.
That's how we want to do.
Yeah.
That's why we call it next level teaching.
Yes.
Right? We want to go to that next level.
Yeah.
We don't want to be stagnant.
No.
We don't
No.
want to be average. I had those type of teachers. You know what I'm saying? That's why the first 2 years of the 9th grade was a dud for me. But I came across a group that was like, nope, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving in. And so what's dope about our podcast is we have so many different people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, different experiences, and we want to hear about you and your story. Yeah.
So just real quick, Shelby Pope is a good friend of mine. I mentioned that. She and I actually served together at church in our kids ministry and in our college ministry. So obviously she loves kids just as much as I do, of all ages.
Right.
And she's been teaching in private school for 4 years, and she teaches 8th grade Christian education. And she has a heart for so many different things. And that's one thing that I love about you, Shelby, is you are so passionate. And I think that that's so important. And you're so fun. Like, I've loved watching your Instagram posts of your moments with your students in March and April and May.
Bringing this to the public. Oh, no.
When like she's outside teaching, like Zooming with her kids, and then a bee goes flying by, and she's like, nope, not today, Satan. Like, it is hysterical. It is so much fun.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you're here today, because you are one of my favorite people. I hope you know that.
I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so thankful. You guys are incredible. Your podcast is incredible. 5-star rating, people. You want to do it. These guys are amazing.
We need that. We need that.
And it's worth it.
I'm looking at some of the reviews now, but I'll actually read some later.
Cool. Yeah.
But we got some cool stuff coming in.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I want to start out, and because I know your story a little bit already, but I don't know if I know the very beginning and what really sparked your heart from the get-go. So when did you first know that you wanted to become an educator? What kind of got you there?
Okay. I kind of feel like I have somehow of a typical story of, like, I've always known I wanted to be a teacher, with some bumps in the road here and there. But when I was little, I just always loved kids younger than me, whatever. And I've always babysat, just love being around kids. They're just so much fun. And, they have that purity that I think we all desire to be and to be around. And I mean, when I was little, I would be like teaching my friends the Pythagorean theorem in our basement classroom.
Whenever I hear that, I'm like,
I'm not proud of it, but like, that's the facts, Right. And I'm sure my friends loved it. I'm sure they had so much fun, and they're like, we can't wait to come over next, So when I was little, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. But when I got to college, so I went in as early childhood education major, and that actually quickly changed. I love little kids. I love being around them. But the thought of, shout out to all of our lower school educators.
Yes, for sure.
I mean,
she's with me.
I am with you. And it's funny that we're in kids ministry together, because I think.
Yeah. They have me with kindergarten, by the way, this year.
Amazing.
Kindergarten boys, Lord help me, please.
Amazing. 3rd grade girls, like, God is like, you need to grow in this area, so I'm going to put you here. So I was in college, and I was like babysitting or nannying or whatever I was doing. And I was like, man, I don't think I can do this as a career. Yeah. And so literally it was just the Holy Spirit who put middle school on my heart. And that is one of the best decisions I ever made, to switch to middle grades education. Yeah. And so that's my degree. And like I said, there was a bump in the road of I wasn't sure I wanted to teach, but then that kind of came back, and I found the way.
That's interesting, because you used the C word. You said, I wasn't excited about this as a career, but you answered the call. You feel me?
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm not excited about the career, but I answered the call.
It is a calling, yes.
And we believe that here.
You can't really shake it.
Yeah. It's just like, okay.
Right.
Like, this is what you're calling me to do.
Right.
I'm going to go all in.
Yeah.
I'm not going to complain about the state of our country or the young people. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to play my part.
Exactly.
And it might be uncomfortable at times. It might be a little heartbreaking and frustrating, you know what I'm saying? But I'm going to do what I got to do and I'm going to answer the call. I love it.
And I think so many people say as middle school teachers that we have to be a little crazy.
You do.
Yes.
Let's be honest.
Yes.
They are the best, though.
They are.
Right.
Shout out to my students. They give me life.
Yeah.
And they're the best.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that right there, the fact that you just said your kids give you life, like that is teacher goals right there, to have that, those kids that you just love them so much and they love you so much that it just brings you so much joy on a daily basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there struggles? Absolutely.
100%.
Right.
Always.
Right.
But there's so much joy that comes with them.
Right.
So you talked about a little bump in the road. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I know that for some people, you know, it's for me, I was very much like you, knew right away. There wasn't really a bump in the road for me, honestly, besides my parents' divorce, which slowed things down a little bit for me. But other than that, it was like middle school all the way, math all the way. Here we go.
That's awesome.
Straight into it, 8th grade math, and then came down to 7th and just knew.
Yeah.
Right.
So what was that bump in the road like for you?
So one of the biggest parts of my heart is for the country of Kenya, and specifically the children of Kenya. And I've been blessed to be able to travel there for many years now. And they do so much more for me than I could ever do for them. Like they're just, I see them as perfect, although I know no one's perfect, but like I do see them as perfect. So anyway, I went to Kenya for the first time in 2013 and continued to go to the same children's home in rural Western Kenya and working with a lot of the same group of kids for years and years. And so you know how it is when you develop those relationships. Relationships are everything. And so I had it in my heart. I felt God calling me to be full-time in Kenya, although it didn't work out at the moment. And again, I do believe that, or I hope and pray. And I want to say I believe I'll be there one day, but I have learned not to trust in my own plans. So I want to be open. I want to be hands up. God, wherever you have me, that's where I want to be. So I thought I was going to be moving there when I graduated college in 2015. And so I wasn't going to be teaching. I took that year off and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. Well, God spoke to me in many different ways. The biggest way, probably just a big lack of peace in my gut and in my spirit, and finding confirmation in God's word, finding confirmation in things that the people around me were saying to me. And so I decided to come back home, and I was going to go to grad school and get a degree in what I wanted. My biggest dream for grad school is trauma counseling. And I do believe I want to do that eventually as well. I just want to wait on the best time.
Right.
But one of the biggest things that impacted me from Kenya is the high amount of street children there are in Kenya and in the city specifically. And the first time I ever saw a child living on the street was in 2014, and I've never been the same. Like I can picture every single thing about that day, and that's my heart in trauma counseling degree. So going back to being here in America, that specific, I couldn't start, I kind of signed up late or whatever. And so I couldn't start until the next year. And so I was like, okay, I'll just get a job for a year and then I'll go back to school and then I'll be able to move to Kenya in a few years, whatever. So one of my best friends, Catherine, she was like, Shelby, you should just be a Bible teacher at a private school. I was like, well, I'd never thought of that before. So I started looking at private schools. We had kind of some not connections, but people we knew who had gone to the school I currently work at. And I looked on their website and there was an opening for middle school Christian education teacher, exactly what I was looking for, exactly what I was wanting. And I clicked on it, applied. That's how I came into teaching. And I love my school so much and love the kids. And it's just been one of the biggest blessings of my life.
Do you see yourself possibly teaching in Kenya later?
I'd love it.
Wow.
I would love it.
I love it.
I'd love it.
I love it.
So I love that connection because I know that you have a heart for Africa as well.
Absolutely.
And yours is in South Africa. And I know that you just came out with something called 40 for 40.
Yep.
Happy
Amazing.
belated 40th, by the way.
Right, thank you.
So talk to everyone about that real quick, because I think that that's such a beautiful connection on your heart for educating the children in Kenya and yours in South Africa.
So my first time in South Africa was probably, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. I went there and spoke in Johannesburg. And then someone there was like, oh my God, we need to hear you in Cape Town. I went to Cape Town and spoke for a conference. And then somebody was like, when had you come back to Johannesburg and speak? So I went back there. But then my second or third time in Cape Town, it just hit different. And the people there, they saw like the next level student shirts and the next level living shirts. They was like, man, we need like next level, like here. And you see this one here says next level mentor. Like
amazing.
Next level, like every organization, they're wanting shirts and the vibe, right? So I came across a group of young adults there, young professionals. They're like, man, that energy, that spirit, like this can be a ministry here. And so we've been doing a lot of work there over the years. I just found out that since February, we fed over 23,000 people.
Thank you, God.
Just
That's
since
awesome.
February to now, it's August. And so
Which is so needed right now, let's be honest.
Right. And to see, and they're dealing with the pandemic too, and they don't have the luxuries, of course, that we have here in the States.
Yeah.
So we're making a big impact. And Gavin Vandervent, he's our director of operations there, and he's in the educational space. He works at the College of Cape Town, which is one of the most progressive top 5 colleges in South Africa.
Wow.
So he met with their college president, which they call a principal, but they're the president, but they call him principals. It's weird, right? Because I'm always like, Mr. President, and he blushes. But, you know, so Gavin was like, let's do 30 kids. Can you guys sponsor 30 kids? And me and my wife have solely been funding this ministry. I haven't even been doing my due diligence, like getting corporate sponsors. I've just been blessed, and so we just been giving. And so he's like, can y'all do 30? I'm like, ooh, he ain't blessed that much. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold on now. Let's start with 10, because I'm big on starting small and scaling.
That's
like,
good.
let's be faithful over the few, right? Then we can be rule over many. So I said, let's just start with 10. And then my wife's been asking me for like weeks, what are we going to do for your 40th? How are we going to celebrate your 40th birthday? I was like, I don't know. I'm so focused on podcasts and other stuff, curriculum. And then it hit me. I was coming down to the office, had a cup of coffee. It's like 5 a.m. I barely even like woke up, didn't even take a sip. And it's like, I was like, boom, 40 for 40. You're going to sponsor 40 kids for every year that you've been alive. Fully fund them for school, tuition, books, and transportation. Because their busing system is cool, but if it's a mile or two from campus, that last stop, you got to walk. And they're in Cape Town near the Cape Flats. Oh, they can tell if you're a student. If you're a student, they're thinking computer, they're thinking tablet, cell phone. We don't want our kids to get robbed. We don't want them to get caught in the rain. It's beautiful there, very tropical because if it's so much rain. So we're even providing transportation.
That's so
and
great.
we got a student support system in place to make sure that they don't just start, but they finish. So I say all that to say, I feel your heart for Africa and being able to help. And we know that's how we can fight poverty.
Yeah.
It's through education. And so that's something that we've been doing and we're excited for. So me and my wife personally are going to sponsor 10 students. And then we've been raising money for the others. And so far we've got 20 kids fully sponsored. And I'm believing that by the end of next week, we'll have all 40 covered.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I love the impact
Incredible.
you're making. I love your heart for young people in education. And so let's kind of talk about some of the pain points. Like, are there some students, did you find some challenges where maybe you had 1 or 2 students who were kind of dealing with some things, kind of struggling? They felt like there was a wall or a block or defiant or weird or attitudes, and then you were able to overcome it? Like, can you?
Because let's be honest, as a public school teacher, there are times where you think that, Christian private, it's going to be so perfect. There are no issues. Everyone's happy and perfect.
Right.
And I'm sure that there are, because I know that my first school, Title I, and then I thought the school that I was going to go to next was going to be so much better. And then I get there and I was like, this is the same thing. Here we go.
Right.
So I'm sure that there are issues of its own within private schools.
Right. So one of the biggest things I love to say is that kids are kids, no matter where they are. Right. And I've been blessed to see that here in America, in my public school during student teaching, private school where I currently work, and then also in Kenya. Kids are kids. They all need to be seen. They all need to be loved. They all need to be respected.
Yeah.
And so some of the biggest challenges, this is kind of funny, but like the first thing that comes to my head is like, I feel disrespect when kids just like try to talk over you, right? It's like the standard blanket answer for every teacher. But then I'm like, but that was me.
Yep.
Right.
LOL. Like I was chatty and we have so much to say.
Yeah.
And then, so especially this year, and I love that this question is coming up because especially this year, kids have been out of school since March. And so they haven't seen their friends. And so all they want to do is talk.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, all I want to do is teach, man. Okay. Like stop talking, but I try to continue to tell myself like, just have grace for these kids. And so I think for me, the hard thing that I bump into is dealing with my pride of wanting to have control over the classroom, but then also wanting them to be kids and to be able to feel safe and have fun in my classroom and in that space. And so it's a lot of my issues that I
and
want to deal with.
And it's a balance that you got to have, because you do have to have control. You do have to be able to say, hey, okay, it's time to listen and learn now, right? And so, but it's like, okay, you do that, but you at the same time, you do want them to give them a little free room to express themselves and be able to communicate, you know? But it's like you want to have that balance. So, yeah.
And you guys are already back.
Yes.
Are you 100%?
Hybrid.
Hybrid.
Yes.
Okay. So are you teaching both?
So I teach 8th grade. So I have every Thursday and Friday in person and every other Wednesday.
Okay.
And then we do virtual Monday and Tuesday. So this week, unfortunately, I'll be virtual 3 days and in person 2 days.
Okay, wait a second. There's so many different hybrids. That's a different one. So you're Monday and Tuesday, all virtually.
For 8th grade. So we're splitting the
grade.
middle school so that half of it is only in the building at one time.
Okay, so when Monday and Tuesday, it's 8th grade. Then the other days, it's the other grades.
Right.
Okay, got you. And then Wednesday. Okay,
Yes.
I think I missed the 8th grade part. Okay, got you.
Yes.
Wow. How have you been feeling? Like, where's your heart? Like, has it been frustrating? Has it been pretty smooth? Is it kind of like, sure?
So being a teacher right now is the weirdest thing ever.
Preach, girl. Preach.
I think you used the word weird to describe this year. And I'm like, that's the only word I can come up with. But so, everyone also has, we all have our own opinions on how things would work better.
Yep.
Very opinionated.
As humans, and I feel like God's just like, hold your tongue, shall we? So I have been learning to really just try to trust the admin at my school and go with the flow. But to answer your question about how my heart is, virtual days, we're just getting through them. In-person days is what I live for. And there's the fear of like, what if I get sick? What if a kid gets sick? All of this kind of stuff that is going through our minds all the time. But as far as my heart condition, I'm thankful to have any sort of FaceTime with them at all. And so it's exciting, but I don't want to stay here.
Are they wearing masks? Are they mandated to wear masks?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Got you.
We have like a whole 24-page plan that we abide by, and we've had all this training, and we have constant emails about the progress and all that good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, and I love that you are one, because I've hung out with you and seen you on social media and whatnot, and that you are just so ready and like so excited to be back in the classroom with your kids. And I know that there are lots of teachers right now that are feeling the opposite way. And I think both are okay. I know that like I'm excited to see kids, but at the same time I'm like, oh.
Right.
And then some are excited to see them, but then their school doesn't have a mask mandate.
Yeah.
So they're like, I don't mind seeing you, but
mom.
can you wear a mask? And so that's a whole nother
That's my mom.
challenge.
Yeah. And so I love, though, that we're able to have teachers on, Jeremy, that are kind of in different boats and feeling different things about it and wanting different things, because that's the reality of what's happening out there right now. Not all teachers want to just, stay online or keep kids home for safety. There are lots of teachers that do want kids back in the classroom. And I love that. And I know that so many of us that want kids to stay at home for safety precaution reasons want to see their kids, but like there are other teachers that are just like, no, I'm here for the kids. Like I want to be here. And I love your heart in that, Shelby. And I love that you're so unashamed about that. And you're so,
she said, I live for it.
Yeah.
You're like, I live for
Those
Thursday
days.
and Friday. It's going down.
Yes.
They'll be in person. I think you got a real interesting perspective, though. I don't know if you caught it, Tori, but you said something key when you were talking about the kids in the schools. You were, and just everybody's opinionated, but you've been learning to just like hold your tongue. And I think that's interesting, like just kind of keeping it to yourself. So what are some of the ways, because I feel like we've got some listeners that probably need to just hold their tongue.
Or speakers.
Me.
Right.
Me.
Right. And it's hard. So those of you listening, trust me, we get it. Like everybody's opinionated. But I have an opinion about everything, right?
Same.
Like local legislation, like things happening in the White House, like the CDC, like trust me, I'm very opinionated. But then I get to a point where I'm like, but I don't have any control to say.
Yeah.
So let me not be a nagging Nancy. Let me just pray for those in power.
Yeah.
And let me
That is
just,
so good.
he puts kings up and takes kings down. Like he's in control. So let
Speak
me
that,
just try to
Daniel, over
support
it.
those who were in place. So kind of tell us what was your process to get there? Because it sounds like you need that reminder from time to time. So you're not fully there like, oh, whatever you say. A part of you is still like, but what about this? So like, how does that process? Because I'm sure we have some listeners that's in that place that's opinionated and their opinion matters.
Exactly.
But like, how do you get back to that place?
Oh, I mean, I feel like it's just the grace of God to convict me. And we were talking about conviction earlier, about hoping that's what this podcast accomplishes, one of the things. And I totally see both sides. Like I think virtual is so important right now. And I think in person can be so important as well.
Yep.
And I guess we've done both at this point. And so, I just don't think that I know that much about like what's best. And so I think that I take the position of, well, like you said, God's will is going to prevail.
Yep.
And so I just I do trust that. And so whatever is going to happen, I feel like it's my role to just go with it. And of course, if my opinion's asked, I do respectfully want to put it out there.
Right.
But I also am very afraid of like getting reprimanded and getting in trouble. So I hate like saying the wrong thing or whatever. I don't know. It's a lot of things of which I just feel like my role is to listen, and in a lot of aspects of life right now, to just be a listener and a learner and to just do my best at whatever's put in my path.
And I love what you said there, because you said, I don't necessarily know what to do, right? Like you don't know what is the best action to take in that.
And you owned it.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that if we are going to sit here and as teachers and say, okay, I don't agree with this, don't just be a nagging Nancy, but actually step up with something that could be done instead and really think through all of the different aspects, because that's what administration is trying to do right now. And I will say, like, I have definitely been one of those that probably should have held her tongue a little bit more than she has recently. Ooh, surprise! Are you surprised by that? Nope. And the other day during our meeting for my content, my administrator broke down and cried. And I'm not saying that I'm like glad that she cried, but I'm saying it was what I needed in that moment to see her heart in that and know that I'm not the only one struggling here.
And I'll never forget, like, there would be some gripes when we'd be in the Sprinter van traveling down the highway. We should do this and we should do that. And I'm just thinking, like, y'all don't even understand all the intricate details. It was just so frustrating.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm thinking, like, you want to do this, but we got to raise money so I could pay your salary so that you can even afford to be on the road.
Right.
But you're just seeing what's comfortable for you and what you think would be cool because the camera is on you.
But isn't that what God says?
Oh, my goodness. We kind of go to that. I feel like being convicted today. You know what I'm saying? But really, like... So I can see how you
started saying that, and I was like, "Ooh, that's what my father said."
Right. But I can see how like our gripes and our complaining almost heightens it. So I'm sure it was refreshing. Where it's like, you know what? It was like that moment where our kids, the students you teach, they realize, oh, you're human. When you're having a rough day, or you get emotional, or you're going through something, they're like, oh, you're not just this authoritative figure that can just break down the word. Like, you have thoughts, you have feelings too. And I feel like it's probably the same thing you saw with administration.
So speaking of those moments of like breakdown, have you ever had any like breaking points as a teacher, whether it is student-based or administration or the system or something personal in your life that's spilled over into work? Have you ever had one of those moments where you feel like you just want to throw your hands up and be done?
And was like, I didn't sign up for this, but you're still here.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why we call it the almost breaking point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And mine's pretty recent, actually. So this time last year, I was kind of getting home from my Kenya trip in the summer, and I was really, really sick with a few different things that had happened over there.
But it wasn't the Rona.
It was not.
Okay.
Yes, I was not patient zero. Okay, for the record. No, it was a couple different things, but anyway, I was just the sickest I'd ever been in my life, and thank God none of it was contagious. So I was still able to be like teaching, but the longer it went on, and to be completely honest, it's still not fully like figured out yet. I've seen a ton of doctors and all kinds of stuff, and not to make you feel sorry for me, but just like to part of the story, but. it got to the point probably around December, January, February, where I was just so sick of it.
Wow.
And when you're dealing with health stuff, it really affects your mood, it affects your heart, and that goes into mental health and all of those kinds of things. And I just found it like, I don't want to go to school today. Yeah. And I used to never say that. Yeah. Like I used to say, I'm going to miss my students over the weekend. And I do. But like at this point I was like, I don't want to go to school today. I don't want to go to school this week. I don't want to go to school this month. Cause I was just constant, just emotional stuff, dealing with the physical stuff. And so I was at that almost breaking point of this child is disrupting class again. And it seems like the world is blowing up because of what's going on in my personal life. And so
everything's amplified.
Yes, everything's amplified. And then nobody else knows that you're going, because I don't like to talk about that kind of stuff. I don't want that, like, I don't know, attention from my coworkers or whatever and anybody. And so they don't know that I'm like physically bad. And so then it's kind of like, well, no one understands. And so like you were talking about those breaking points, I had many tears last year. And I would say that was absolutely my hardest year of teaching. And I almost threw in the towel. And then, COVID is awful, to say the least. And this year is weird, to say the least. But one good thing that God did through it was remind me that because I couldn't be with my students for so many months, he was like, just renewed my joy and renewed my passion for it through one of the hardest things that I've gone through. And through me almost throwing in the towel, he was like, no, don't do it. Don't do it yet. And that, I would say, the personal part of my life was the hardest part about this whole thing.
I'm going to go there, right? Because I feel like what God could be telling you is, I need you to embrace this. I need you to endure this. You want to go to Kenya? Like those desires that we have, like he delights in giving that stuff to us. And I believe in this season, he's telling you, I want you to embrace this, let it burn, fight through it, because that's going to prepare you. Because when you go to Kenya, it might be a little different than you were expecting. I want you to be prepared for that. So I'm excited to see this next level that you're going to go on. And he's put that desire inside you. Like, let's be clear. Like, the average human is not like, oh, I want to go there. He's placed that there. Right? But sometimes it's like he will bless us with what he can trust us with. So now you've got to just make sure you're in that place. So I love the fact that you got to the point where you was like, you know what? I weathered it, though. I hung in here. I did what I had to do. And soon he'll release you for the greater good and bigger blessings and more opportunities. But you had to kind of stay in that place right there. Yeah. I'm excited to see what he has in store. Yeah, for sure.
So I wonder if you going through that has changed your perspective on people having a bad day.
Absolutely. I mean, something I was taught a long time ago is you never know what people are going through. And that's one of the foundations of my class that I always try to teach students and maybe younger girls I mentor. Like, you never know what people are going through. Just that simple thought is like, it changes everything, and it produces empathy. And I believe that when we have empathy as a society, as a world, so many things change. Like empathy. If we don't care about other people, we don't care about their pain, nothing will change, and nothing good will happen. So absolutely, it has changed the way that I see students, the way I see other teachers, like you were talking about, the way I see admin, just giving grace to all people that God puts in my path of, I don't know what they're going through. And so why would I say something just offhanded to make their day worse?
And you and I were having a conversation.
Go there. I was just thinking that. You better
Dream
go
team.
with me. So look, we were just talking about you never know what people go through. All right, I'll say the first name. You say his last name. Chadwick
Boseman.
Like, nobody knew that he was, a few people might have knew that he was dealing with colon cancer. But like all these years, like all these movies he produced, and he's still showing up at hospitals, still showing up at cancer treatment centers, taking pictures with young kids, still telling people it's important to vote, like still giving words of affirmation. Like, blows my mind. And so shame on all those people that saw the pictures of him when he was skinny, or shame on all those people that was like, he needs to eat more. What's wrong with him? Like, shame on them.
Or he looks tired.
Or he looks tired. Like, because he's fighting for his life.
Because you never know. And that's exactly literally the second that she said that. I don't know if it immediately popped into your head, but it did. Because you flat out said, and nobody knew. Nobody knew what you were going through. Nobody knew.
And then you had to hold on to it. Now here's the question: is that healthy? Because I'm constantly telling people
Conviction.
There we go, right?
Because I'm the opposite. I'm the one that lets everyone know everything
right.
so that I do get that grace. And maybe that's very selfish of me. I'm not sure.
But we need, when it says it takes a village to raise a child, look, we need villages too.
Yeah.
I'm 40 now, and you know what I'm saying? And I've got counselors, I've got therapists,
Yes.
I've got close friends I can talk to on
Yes.
call. The other day, a friend of mine asked me, how's your heart? And I felt my lip quiver, and I was like, I don't feel like crying. You know what I'm saying? And it's a lot. Let me just say that. Let's transition, right? It's a lot. And I'm thinking like, everybody needs to be able to release.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be able to share. And so if I challenge you with anything, it might not be coworkers, but check in with some others and share it. I'm constantly checking you, texting you.
Oh, he does.
Tori,
all
how
the
you
time.
doing?
Yeah.
How you
And
feeling?
I'm like,
Are you
what's
good?
wrong? What I do?
Right. I'm like, no, I just want to make sure you're good because I
Yes,
know.
that's great.
Yes.
Right? And so I want to make sure that you have, and I know you got some friends, Tori and others that
Yes.
love you and care for you. Just make sure you share. So even if you don't share it with your coworkers,
Right.
at least you have some other people that you are sharing it with because it can be rough.
Right.
And then maybe, and maybe not in your situation. Everybody's different. But maybe, you know what I'm saying, he's calling us to be a bit more open and transparent and vulnerable. Because sometimes we don't share because we don't want people in our business, or we don't share because I don't want them to think I'm weak or I'm seeking attention.
That was it. And
You just read my
said
mind.
it.
Okay.
You said it
There
though.
it is.
Like you alluded to it at one point where you were like, I don't want people to think that I'm
Yep.
asking for
Right.
attention or
treatment.
special treatment.
Yeah.
But that is something that I have worked on a lot recently, personally, because that was me as well, where I didn't want to let people in.
Yeah.
And then I realized, especially even with my kids, if they don't know that I'm going through something and I don't share with them, then how are they going to feel comfortable to
Yeah.
open up to me?
It's true.
And so I tell them day one, guys, I'm going to let you know if I'm having a bad day. I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm going to let you know if I'm having a bad day. But I hope that also means that you can let me know, hey,
Right.
Miss Rod, I'm not feeling good today.
Yeah.
I had one girl who her dad passed away last year. And then when my grandmother passed away over MLK, I let my kids know, obviously I had to be out for the rest of MLK week. And I told them why. And because she had just felt so much of that same pain, it gave us a connection. And she came up to me and she was like, Miss Rod, I'm so sorry. I understand what you're going through, and wrote me a letter. And I also want to encourage you in that Shelby, to just teachers in general, to not be afraid to like let some of that guard down, to let our kids know that we are human beings.
Yeah.
Because our Lord lets us know that of all of the things that his son went through, right?
Yeah.
All of the pain and all of the struggles that he went through, it's there.
Yeah.
It's right there written on paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all gotta cross the carry. So just hold on to that, right?
Yeah.
And just be thinking about that, because that might help free you up.
Right.
You know, and where he might tell you to do something different.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's great. And a couple things I was just thinking of. I'm so thankful, great family, mentors, friendships that
Nice.
I have been able to share this with. But as far as students and coworkers and stuff, something that I've heard from you guys say is like, it's so key for our students to see that we are human
Yeah.
and that we're not perfect, and like we struggle and we cry and we break down, and I'm emotional or I'm ornery one day, and well, that's not okay. I don't need to take anything out on them, but like
Right.
some days I do want to.
But at least they can understand why, and maybe they can extend that
Right.
grace to you.
Truth.
even though they should already be on their best behavior,
Come on.
you know what I'm saying? But maybe they'll feel a little conviction, like,
Yeah.
okay, let me not be a brat.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And there were some teachers I really liked, and I was just like, are you struggling? All right, I'll act right, you know?
Yeah. That's cool.
It's
Yeah.
so true. The days when you're like have a cold and the kids can see it,
Oh, my
you know?
goodness, yes.
You notice that kid that just drives you nuts sometimes.
They have a heart.
They do. I'm like, oh my gosh, it exists.
And it's so sweet.
Oh my gosh, it's really there.
I love it. I love
So
it.
speaking of hearts, tell me about that one student that captured your heart. Oh, I love that face right there.
Right,
Look at that face.
right.
Ugh.
So I love all my students, but I'm definitely a girl's girl. Like
Yeah.
the 8th grade girls, they have my heart. They're just at that time when they're still silly and goofy, but like they can talk to you about real stuff and they want to know about you and they want to know like the ways that you've gone through life and the mistakes you've made and how you overcame them and all that kind of stuff. So I just think of this one student. She's my star. That's what I call her. Like, I honestly will probably name my firstborn child after her. She's incredible. Like, she's the girl who you're like, that's a win. You know, just the fact that she's living out what I've tried to teach her and what I've been taught and what I tried to teach her. She listens. She asks questions. She looks at you while you're talking. You know, like that's a win in the classroom when all the students are just like, and I'm like, I just want to freeze this moment. So with her, she looks at you in the eye and she's now, it's a mentor relationship because she's grown up, and it's just seeing her live it out and seeing her care and seeing her like talk about her future dreams and the ways that she's convicted and what she's reading in the Bible and what she's studying. And now she's helping to lead another Bible study. I'm like, yes, I just have goosebumps thinking about it. And I'm just so blessed. That's my girl, my star.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
It makes me think of my one from PK. You know who I'm talking about?
I don't know if I know who you're talking about.
Oh, the one I got to baptize.
Oh, yes.
Yes, my girl. Loose. Love her. I'll just say it. Don't care. Love her. She's my girl. And I think, it's so funny because parents always say you don't have a favorite. And I'm an only child, so lucky for me. Right. No matter if they want me to be the favorite or not, I am. And as teachers, we try so hard not to have favorites. Right. 100%. But you do have students that they choose to make that connection with you.
That's good.
And that's it. That for me is it when students are like, oh, it's obvious that you like so-and-so better. I'm like, that's because so-and-so actually wants to talk to me. They actually want to have a conversation with me instead of talking at me.
Right.
There's a big difference between the two. Oh, I tell my kids that all the time. Don't talk at me. Talk to me.
I'm trying not to preach here. I'm trying to keep it copacetic. You know what I'm saying?
Do it, son.
Because I feel like that's how it is in the sense. Like all of our listeners, if you know by now, you know what I'm saying, we're obviously people of faith, right? But I feel like God's like, yo, I love all of y'all. Okay. I'm trying not to preach here.
Preach, sir. Come on.
You know what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to keep it copacetic. You know what I'm saying? But really, I feel like that's how it is almost with God. He's like, he loves all of us. Right? But then there's this thing called favor. Yep. So it's like some people that's going to take some time. They're going to sacrifice. They're going to give locally. They're going to make the adjustments. They're going to work on their hearts. They're going to, seek him early in the morning. Yeah. And then you got those that's like, Christmas, Thanksgiving, hey, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, so I just feel like it's the same way. So I think when we have hearts for our kids and say, hey, I love all of y'all rock. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be something that naturally connect with us. Yeah. But what makes us next level teachers is when we can find those who are struggling. Yeah. And ask ourselves, how come this one isn't connected with me? Yeah. Why does Cynthia have an attitude? What's up with Robert? Like, there's a block there. And we're intentional, not just to say, you know what, you can have that attitude if you want to, but these are my favorites, but to really talk about the issues of the heart and figure out why they're struggling or why they're failing to connect with me. I think that's what takes us to that next level. And so it can be convicting, it can be challenging, but I think that's how we grow. When we realize, hey, I'm not here for the 99. I'm ready to go out and find the one.
Ooh,
you feel me? Wow. And so I think if we can have that mindset when we come to the classroom and say, okay, I got the 99 here or the 95 here, but let me find the 5, the small group that's not connecting, because I don't want to lose any. Yeah. I want to capture the hearts of all of y'all. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So like Peter, James, and John was like his favorites, but he's like, I got all 12 of y'all. Right. And then I got some outside of those, and then there are those that you don't even know about that's doing my work, right? And so that's okay, but I think if we can have that mindset, I don't want to lose any. Yeah. I want to connect with the hearts of all of them. That's what's special.
Yeah, for sure.
So, this is going to be good. Yeah. Now, here's the question. Are you ready for rapid fire?
I was born ready.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
That's my girl. All right.
60 seconds.
Oh, man, okay.
I'm ready.
Let's see how
my hands are sweating.
Yep. All right, ready?
All right, yep.
Let's go.
All right, favorite movie?
Black Panther. Oh, not even lying. I'm saying. Which one has to go? Twitter or Instagram? Twitter.
Ooh, one has to go. Cake or ice cream?
Ice cream.
Oh,
sorry, unpopular.
One has to go. Ketchup or mayo?
Mayo.
Oh my gosh. Okay, one has to go. Christmas or your birthday?
My birthday.
but then you just disappear.
That's okay.
You
Then
never be
Jesus
here.
exists.
Right.
Hey,
That's what I have always thought for all of these. Okay.
I love it.
I know this one. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
I know.
Really?
I know.
I love
Okay.
dogs. I love dogs. Okay. Don't at me.
Right.
Fill in the blank. Beyonce is.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh, I want to know this one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at keeping secrets?
Oh, 10.
Oh, that's.
Nice.
I'm
Loyal.
glad about that because I
Right,
told
right.
you some things. Favorite
I
childhood
remember you
TV
told me
show.
Hey, Arnold.
Oh, I had a dream about Hey Arnold last night. Okay, I'm sorry. Really random.
2 seconds.
All right. Who has it easier, men or women?
It's silence. I don't know.
Who has it
Okay.
easier?
Easier? Both have so much struggle, so many struggles.
You're so beautiful.
Such a politician. I love it.
no.
She's like both.
I really was stunned with the silence there.
That's
Sorry.
a good one, right? Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
Thank
for your
you so
heart,
much.
not just for the work that you're doing on the mission field here in America, but also in Kenya.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing how we can support. So let's make sure we stay in contact.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited to see what else God's going to do in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for hanging
gonna
out
be
with
big.
us.
Thank you guys so much.
Yep. Continue to embrace the conviction. Always asking ourselves, what adjustments can we make? And that's how we become next level teachers.
Amen.
Yep. You ready to read a review before we get out of here?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, how many stars do we want?
5.
Oh, yeah, 5. She's like,
Duh.
come on, duh. Right.
That face, duh.
All right, so this person here said, Hot Rod Hames said, you won me over with this podcast. I shared the first episode with a colleague in middle school who also teaches with relational passion to connect with students. I am sure he will be inspired as I was with this episode I just listened to. I can't wait for the more that come every week. Keep doing up the great work, Rod. Thank you, Rod.
Love it.
Thank you, Rod. And to everybody else that's listening,
Yeah.
to the podcast that's sending reviews. We're going to shout you out. We're going to highlight some of the top reviews.
Yeah.
And we appreciate the love you're sending us our way.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. We
Yep.
hope that you guys can tune in next time.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
See you next week.